Welcome back to the OPL. My name is Michael Hinging, and I'm joined here at the analyst desk by Frosco and Raz. Let me start with you, Raz. Frosco was just saying she wants to see Tainted Minds switch up their jungle play for Game 2 to get back in this. What are your thoughts? Do you agree?
I agree. I mean, kind of like the jungle picks are... It makes sense, right? I think the main issue is the Jhin Leona, right? Because, you know, at this point now you realize what you're going up against if you're Tainted Minds, especially since they banned the Cassiopeia. That was like something I talked about, which is like really straight-minded that they want to pretty much snowball off that Baron. But yeah, if you're Tainted Minds, pick more mobility. Because you're going to get blown up. That's what it comes down to.
No, and kind of speaking of the Cassie ban, I really like it also in the fact that anytime Cassie is picked, it actually makes Vayne stronger. Not saying that we'll go see a Vayne pick, but it's this idea that Cassie offers a lot of protection for the AD carry. And obviously, Tainted Minds a very strong AD carry-based team.
Yeah.
Raz, you are correct that it gives you great objective control through Baron, but it also means that it's so difficult to dive onto that backline to get that AD carry if Cassie is sitting next to them. So I think it's really important throughout the remainder of the series that either Cassie is picked or banned away from Omni.
Let me ask, because Sin went into this series not being favourites. Right? Tainted Minds are the clear favourites. You look at the standings; they're way up there, right? So, how do you feel now if you're Tainted Minds and you've just gone down one game? Like, are you stressed, or do you feel like it's a bad loss for them, or is it just they got outplayed? Like, what are they thinking right now, Frosco?
I mean, it's really hard. I think Raz can probably actually speak more to the mentality side because the veteran member is Rosie, and you actually have experience working in a coaching mentality with Rosie.
Yeah, so the way I would frame it is that I think with Tainted Minds, like they have a lot to grow, right? That as a team, I think they grow like day by day. What it just comes down to is when you have a game like that, you kind of just have to essentially brush it off. Especially like losing to that when you have like kind of like a lead going towards bot lane. The way I would frame it would just be kind of like originally in the beginning of the split, Sin had very like people banned very niche champions. It was all towards Rhymeister, and then they kind of like shifted their picks and started playing more meta style, right? And that's when they started to kind of like falter. I think you kind of have to go back to those bans. And I don't want to say, go back to those bans, but it's looking like that might just be the case.
And Tainted Minds actually have the opportunity to do that now because, of course, they will be on that blue side, so they don't need to pick up the red side ban. So we expect to see, like, Rhymeister should not get Diana. We expect to see the Diana ban. I'd like to see Cassiopeia, again, either picked or banned away for the entirety of the series. But the target should be all on that mid lane.
Yeah, we've talked a little bit about what you want to see from Tainted Minds. Then what does Sin have to do to close this out? Let me start with you, Raz.
Sin, like from the very beginning, go back to your mid lane focus, right?
Sure.
That's what got you to a great point last split. That's pretty much getting you through this last game. That was really good from them.
So you want to see the same kind of
concept. You might lose Diana, but then play Yasuo, right? Go back to that Yasuo composition, surprise people. So that's what they should just go back to that idea.
So let me go quickly. Predictions. Frosco, do you think they can bring it back, Tainted Minds, or are you going for that Sin 2-0 out of here?
I'm going to flip. And I almost don't ever flip on this. I've been really strong on my predictions throughout the entire of the split, but I'm going back to Sin. I believe you guys. Please don't make me look like an idiot on the desk. Please play a 1-3-1 in Snowball Rhymeister because I believe in the Sin 2-0.
Raz, as someone who has a vested interest in making Frosco look like an idiot, then I'm
going for that 1-1.
All right, well, that is enough from us at the analyst desk. Let's hand it over to our casters now. It's Rogi and Rusty.
Thank you, Hingers. With Sin such a resounding performance, even making Frost flip her predictions here. So very convincing game number 1. Let's see if they can keep it up for game number 2.
Yeah, and Frost never flips. You heard it from her herself. I think that Sin's game 1 performance, you can never really come into a Sin series and be like, oh yeah, they're going to do this, they're going to play this well. It's very sporadic between them, and they're very much an unpredictable team. But that game number 1 shows that they mean business, and with nothing to lose, Sin show what their ceiling looks like.
Well, let's see if Tainted Minds can pick up on what Sin are bringing to the table tonight and maybe ban it away. And by ban it away, I mean get rid of that Diana, because Rhymeister is an absolute god when it comes to that champion. But so far, similar bans coming through here. Let's see if Tainted Minds have wised up to the fact.
Yeah, so the Jax ban, something that stays consistent away from Squiggle, who had an outstanding performance on the Shen. And yeah, the Diana, look, it might deserve a ban. What was the other factor in this was the Shen-Diana combo.
It was huge.
That definitely needs to be taken off the board, because you get rid of the Diana, he can play Kassadin and still have his Shen ult him. And so the priority needs to be shifted from Tainted Minds, whether Praedyth picks it or actually bans it away. they need to do something towards preventing a 1-3-1 capability where a Shen is in the team.
Yeah, well, Sin mirroring their bans from game number 1, Tainted Minds, though, getting rid of that Diana. They don't want Riot to have that one. And you heard Rusty get rid of that Shen because that seems to be what Sin kind of had that confidence with. Chuck on the Stand United on that mobile AP carry and just get in the backline and make Tainted Minds kind of just scatter like roaches under a light.
Nice, that was a pen. I agree. There it is. So the first question, right, was get rid of Diana. You know that Rymeister's just going to default to Kassadin, something that does the exact same thing. He's got a lot of late game assassination threat and a lot of late game carry threat. Now they've just gotten rid of both of them. I would not be shocked to see a Shen still from Sin, but the question comes back to what are they going to play in that middle lane that actually makes up for the missing damage that has been banned away from them in the way of the Assassin. And my eyes always go towards the Zed for Rymeister, but then they're missing magic damage.
It makes a lot of sense here. So let's see if Sin can kind of get past this. I'm sure they were expecting it after such a stellar performance from Riot in the mid lane last game, but mirroring their bans, getting that Vladimir out once again. See what Tainted Mind prioritized that first pick. Last time it was Sin getting themselves the Lucian, but with Braum off the table, allows Praetor to pick him up.
Yeah, so they lock down the Braum. Standout champion at the moment. Has been putting in a lot of work. Not a surprise to see it locked in early. Of course, Rosie not going for his Leona. Bard taken away from him. Defaults to a much more meta option, which is funny to see, but it is very much Rosie to break the meta wherever possible. However, Rogue on the flip side, it doesn't mean that he's banned out either. Can default to that Alistar now that he knows he's into a Braum. May be able to make that work. If not the Alistar, back to the Thresh. He always has options available to him, and not only that, Juice can just go back to his Gragas. They can just lock in a Lucian as well, take that away from the combo, deny that from Tainted Minds, and set themselves up.
You are good at this, Rusty. Atlas said it yesterday. I'll say it again today. Picking exactly that. Getting the Gragas, getting the Lucian. Sin Gaming. They know their strengths tonight, and they're going to be playing to that. I do like the Braum pick up by Tainted Minds, kind of just reiterate that I feel like in game number 1, Lost was strong, and then they had no way to ensure his survival.
Yeah.
Leona does a good job of initiating, but not protecting the carry. Braum going to do a much better job.
Yeah,
at
Braum
that.
does both, right?
Yeah.
So like maybe if they want to go with the Braum, cement themselves perhaps a Sivir or Ezreal if they wanted to go super safe and keep him alive. Not knowing what Rymeister has picked, not knowing what Squiggle has locked down, means that it'd be risky to draft it this early. If they need to give themselves the AD carry, the Sivir would make the most sense against a Gragas.
We did a great job on the Jhin early on, but it kind of did falter towards the end of that game. As we saw, there was just no answer for Riot, but looks like it could be the Ashe here. The Elise does get locked in, and there you have it. Lost going to be playing that Freljord Queen.
Can still carry hard on Ashe, but is
definitely.
very much a utility champion now, and that's not too much like Tainted Minds to be seeing this combo from them. It means they're putting a lot more emphasis on having Praedyth on a carry and Omni putting in work. Sin can still sculpt themselves to combat that quite easily.
Zahi really struggled on that Elise last game, just constantly finding himself getting picked out, destroyed, obliterated, disintegrated even.
So this should be a Yasuo as well, not the Riven that's being hovered.
Sure.
If it's not a Yasuo, it may be the Zed, but my thinking is that the AP Assassins have been basically taken off the board with bans. Next best threat or best option is an AD version of the exact same thing. Problem is, he'd be picking it blind if it were this rotation.
See if Sin decide on something. That sneaky, not going to happen. Just showing off for us. Making the pick and ban phase a little bit more interesting, but it will be Rogue's Thresh, though. An identical team composition here. Just going to have to mix it up with the mid lane.
Yeah, which is quite a simple idea for them to execute on. Sin have picked themselves 4 of their better champions from that game number 1 all over again. Maybe better lane control when you think about it. Of course, the Thresh and the Lucian have got a lot of capabilities. Pushing someone out, but a Braum Ashe is quite disgusting to lane against in any capacity whatsoever. The Elise as well, going to have a lot of focus towards that bottom lane. And that was one of the weak points that I'm surprised Tainted Minds went for when a Rek'Sai is up and available. They locked in the squishy Elise to go all in on a pick composition, and that might be how they round it out.
Oh, well, nothing spells pick more than Malzahar with that Nethergrass. Just going to lock down anyone he gets in his sights. And up in the top Praedyth, another top lane carry, it will be Gangplank.
Yeah, this is really interesting. So the Malzahar gets let through most of the draft phases until right now. They're able to lock that one away. Rymeister is his last pick for his team. Playing an assassin just becomes that little bit harder now. There's no way that you can play a Yasuo. Zed's now risky, but you can at least last hit with your Q. And most options that Sin have available to them are not Riven, but are lacking.
There it is. It will be the Zed for Rhymeister, so all in on that attack damage are the Sin Gaming squad. From Lucian to Zed, lacking the ability power. I guess Juice can maybe build the Runic Echoes and kind of exert that early game, but...
Yeah, they're lacking a little bit, right? But a Sunfire Cape from Squiggle will help. They have incidental magic damage across the board.
True.
One of the big things that we need to highlight, though, looking at this, it's actually historically quite a relevant fact, is that Zed beats Gangplank at the first item spikes, and usually will continue to beat him past that second item spike.
Yeah.
So they've sculpted themselves in a manner that has Squiggle in a side lane, Rhymeister killing Praedyth in a side lane and trying to exploit it. However, Tainted Minds running a pick composition means that they can just barrel down one of the lanes as a larger group of members, throw the Ash Arrow, and kill somebody.
Yeah, it's going to be really difficult for Sin to avoid that, essentially, and the Micro is going to have to be on point. Flash going to have to time perfectly anytime they want a group, because that arrow is going to be coming followed by the Nether Grass, followed by the Cocoon. It's looking very dicey here.
Yeah, and this is where the items come into play. They need Mikaels, they need QSSs to get them out safely, and the Shen to keep them alive.
All right, guys, if you want Tainted Minds to take us to a game number 3 and potentially even that 3-way tie, hashtag TM winner, if you want Sin to complete the upset, to get rid of any idea of a 3-way tie, hashtag SinWin, get on Twitter, get your presence out there.
That's everything on the line now for Tainted Minds. Their own destiny, as we said, is in their own hands, but game 1 went to Sin, and Sin were commanding throughout that game. Would not be surprised to see them start on the exact same foot, given that 4 of the 5 champions from game number 1 are still there.
Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, and that seems to be the Sin mentality coming into game number 2 of the series. Tainted Minds versus Sin Gaming. Tainted, they've gone all in on this pick composition, and they've got themselves that Braum, which is usually kind of the factor when playing against a pick comp. Just chuck up that stand behind me, chuck up the wall, and negate all the damage, but it's going to be very difficult for Sin to kind of, any of their members really, to survive that.
Yeah, and this is why we have to highlight once again the way that Sin should be playing on Summoner's Rift to win the game. They're against a composition that'll most likely hit level 6, Lost will utilize Fog of War, they'll throw an arrow down the middle lane and kill whoever is in that middle lane. That will work at level 6. It'll probably work up until about the level 11 point. But if Sin can just hold on past there, they'll have a Mikael's Crucible available you would expect from Rogue, or a QSS from Raps, and Squiggle's ultimate once he hits level 11 to defuse a lot of the follow-up damage. At that point, Sin are able to turn it back on. Once they hit 6 themselves, they've got kill threat. It's more about, can they pull Tainted Minds around the map? Can they force situations where there's not large numbers of people, get skirmishes and get big snowballing team fights? Or can Tainted Minds actually bundle together, be the team, opposed to being individual members, and just pull Sin apart?
Last game, Sin really excelled at doing just that, getting ahead in the top and the mid lane, and just didn't seem to matter how strong the Jhin was. And by then it was all over. They just needed Juves to land those godlike body slams and the barrel combo. His barrel combos, he was very confident in his ulti ability, constantly just throwing that out at max range, catching up to 2 members at a time. So I'd like to see that confidence kind of come into this game number 2 and really give Sin the oomph that they need to take this series.
Yeah, you have to credit Juves. He played well in that first game. Would not be surprised to see that continue through into the second. Praedyth playing against Squiggle. Gangplank, a champion that we've seen picked a fair bit into Shen.
See how well he can do. Doesn't rely as wholeheartedly as his auto attacks as the Aurelia, so going to be utilizing those barrels for a majority of his damage.
Yeah, and builds the duelist build now with Trinity Force into a Ghost Blade as hooks on.
And onto Rosie. That's really the member they want to go with here. Nice E out of Raps to dodge the Winter's Bite. So already playing aggressive. Keep in mind, once again, Rogue did take that Ignite. Rhymeister has one of his own, so Tainted Minds with 2 exhausts, Sin with 2 ignites. This is going to be an absolute bloodbath.
Definitely will be, of course. Looking at who needs to be exhausted on the side of Tainted Minds, I can name 2 of them, definitely, perhaps 3, if Praedyth is involved in all of these skirmishes. I didn't actually see, was it the Thunderlords picked up by Praedyth?
Can't remember.
Because there's 2 different Keystone Mastery outlets that you can go towards on Gangplank. Thunderlords is so that your ultimate is relevant, which means you're a split pusher, and you want to have less lane threat, but more, I'm going to place my ultimate and surprise people with burst threat. The other is, of course, a Grasp of the Undying or that kind of build where you just want to beat your lane.
Well, he doesn't have the cookies, and people tend to go for the cookies when they're going towards that Thunderlord, so I would think it may be the Grasp of the Undying, but Juice has found Zahi. A lot of damage down onto the Spider, maybe even force a flash here. Should just repel over to the Krugs, luckily has them available. Sin's bot lane were the first to answer the call as well, so already, Juice is not done yet though. Zahi knows it, gets the Cocoon, looking for the damage, but the Krug actually doing quite a bit. Zahi's got to be careful.
Juve's also overstaying his welcome. You can see the movement from Tainted Mind's bottom lane and mid lane starting to collapse. So he shows his respects. Isn't that substantial, however. Everything just settles down with a forced recall out of Zahi.
Rhymeister doing a good job of hitting that shield whenever it's available. Hooks coming through onto Rosie. Rogue just using that off cooldown. Very rare we see this guy miss when he's playing the Thresh.
Yeah, and if you're using it off cooldown and you're still connecting, it's a positive sign for what's to come. It means he's calibrated. He's got the angles down. He's expecting certain jukes and not, and that's one of the bigger things. If you can throw it out off cooldown and hit the first couple, you might start causing some concern in the opposition team. They might start changing their movement patterns and being exploited.
Utilizing that Lantern to ensure that Raps doesn't take any of the damage. Rosie was poised quite aggressively here. Juve's just doing the rounds, but up in the top it will be Zahi, the first one to come for the game. Once again, there is a Shadow Dash through two members. Might have to flash here. There it comes. Does he have enough? The Cocoon goes down. One more attack should do it. Prey to take two tower shots, actually. He's quite low. Orange keeping him safe for now. A Squiggle
Don't stay.
has to respect this.
If he stays, he needs to ensure that he can't be killed by Zahi. So the fact that Gangplank recalls means that he will be able to hang out and collect a fair bit of these minions. That's a mistake from Tainted Minds because they could have denied a whole host of these. Instead, everything just settles down.
Getting every single one as well. So Squiggle playing quite greedy here, but Tainted Minds not punishing him for it. So once again, Zahi, the first of the junglers to make their move.
Yeah, he ends up being a little bit of CS ahead. Of course, can go back now and spend about 1,200 gold. This means that Squiggle will be content with his laning phase. Good movements from Zahi, though. Was forced out in the bottom lane, recalled. Got his items and went topside. And, of course, isn't going for the boots of Lucidity Rush this time around. Instead, has the Aether Wisp start, which I like to see, because I already complained in the first one.
Let's see if
That's it.
Let's see if Juice can answer with a gank of his own here. Last game, his ganks were a lot more efficient. Except for, of course, that first one that resulted in a triple kill for loss. But we'll go ahead and forget that one.
So the shield's down here from Omni. You can see that Juves is nearby on a pink ward. That's the important part, is that the shield was down, except that Rhymeister has to use his W, throw out the shadow every single time.
Here comes Rogue, though. Forces a flash out of Omni at one for himself. Juves holds onto his own. But now with no flash down, if Omni's shield is depleted, he's going to have a target paint on his back.
Yeah, absolutely right. So flash for flash between support and mid laners. As these two collapsing is a big deal. They're not level 6, but if they find the target, which is Juves, they could be in.
And a barrage coming down. Can Rosie tag anyone? No, he doesn't. Rogue, great positioning once again to ensure Juves' little over-aggression isn't punished.
And my question was, in fact, answered through that cannon barrage. It's a Thunderlord's Gangplank for Praedyth. He's going to be running the split pusher build. So the Ghost Blade will be seen after the Trinity Force. He'll be trying to 1v1 Squiggle and be in a side lane. But this is the first pain point that he has to contend with. Has spotted Rhymeister.
Right, just putting on the pressure here, forcing Praedyth to respect him. Does get pinged out that it's warded. Minions weren't up far enough to force the dive here. So Praedyth going to stay safe for now. Zahi coming back up to ensure that Riot isn't hanging around, but you have vision of him now that he's back in the mid.
And this is still such a positive start to this laning phase for Squiggle. Really is doing work. Look at the CS difference between the two. He's trying to contest every single time.
Costing himself a little bit of a chunk of health there. Trying to deny the barrel explosion. If he had got it, of course, it would be worth it, but you got to try here.
And if you looked at game number 1 and 2 in terms of drafting, you'd say that Sin, pretty much the same composition as game 1.
Yeah.
GG, they win. But the adaptations are definitely still evidenced by Tainted Minds. They've got the Duelist top. They've got Omni to actually lock people down with that Malzahar. And they're running a full-blown pick composition. There's a lot that is capable here from Tainted Minds, but they need to be doing this as a group. Really not getting that down. And it all starts through the jungle position. Once again, he's trying to build himself with items towards ganking, towards doing damage, and getting people in lanes ahead. But he's 0-0-0.
That's cool. Didn't know the Shen's W actually blocked the Gangplank Q here, so does have a way to avoid, especially now that he's got the Sheen. The harass that comes out here. Once again, popping that shield, and like clockwork, Juves is over in the wings. Has the ultimate available this time, but Omni, the second that it's popped, he knows potential dive is a real threat. This time Rogue not going to be joining them.
Yeah, he's immediately cautious whenever it's down, and it makes sense because Rymeister using his W forward is a pretty dangerous cooldown to expend. So unless you've got Zahi nearby, you do need to show your respects to that Zed and the damage that he can put down. Of course, Omni, no flash, has exhaust, and so Rymeister's damage is not that influential, except for right now.
They found Zahi. He's supposed to use his flash. Goes up in the air. Can they get him? In comes the death mark. Gonna proc. There is the ultimate from the Malzahar, but Rai just ults back to his own shadow. Gets himself out of harm's way.
And GP's teleport has to get cancelled, so Rymeister, after taking a Malzahar ultimate, literally has full health still. And the Shen, kind of a big deal in situations like this. And honestly, I already questioned this during the drafting phase, but why go for the Elise when there are other champions that you can pick like Rek'Sai that aren't going to be as exploitable through your health bar against an assassin team composition? In terms of drafting, it feels like Tainted Minds are running into similar problems. They've shored up some weaknesses, but that's not going to be enough to win them the game outright unless they really start fixing up their strategy through draft, but not just draft.
Squiggle, considering he's already ahead now, has that first blood gold as well. Consider him to be a very big threat coming into this mid game. Gets the first successful gank, utilizing that ult to perfection.
But like, just like imagine you're in this game and you press tab, and you look down across all of your lanes, and you're like, well, they're all winning.
Yeah.
Like, it's 0-1. That doesn't matter too much, because even if it was 0-0 across the board, there's a CS advantage top lane, jungle's even, mid lane has an advantage, and even bottom lane, Raps and Rogue have found themselves close to even, which is Tainted Minds' win condition last time around. They had a 4-0 Jhin. We're at 10 minutes, 40 seconds, and because the board is only slightly in favor of Sin, that's a win for them.
Rogue might be in trouble, but actually just allowed to walk his way out of here. And of course, we do have the God vision and know that no one from Sin is nearby, but Tainted Minds didn't have the vision to make that call, and in the end, missed out on a potential kill. Raps is back down in the bot, keeping his lead nice and stable right now.
That's the kind of positioning that in solo queue you would have died for.
Yeah.
Because Tainted Minds would not have actually cared about who was there. If there was a jungler nearby, it wouldn't matter. You had to kill. They showed too much respect this time around to Sin's movements. Juves is on the top side of the map. Looks like he wants to potentially lane gank on Praetor.
What could they be setting up here? We know Zahi has made his way down to the bot.
He just got spotted.
Followed by a ward, so that's Q for the bot lane of Sin to play quite safe. Let's see if Juice has better luck up in the toppers.
You can hear the Gangplank ultimate.
Zed's actually up there as well, but it looks like they've got their sights set onto this bot lane in a turret. Praetor surviving by the skin of his teeth. Here comes Juice, wants to go for it, throws the barrel and gets it.
Juves dies.
Sit still for that one, but a lot of pressure up in this top lane, and Omni can't really do much but push tower. They get the bot lane tower as an answer here. Maybe got their sights set on the dragon for now as well.
That was a lot of effort to actually take Praetor out. He has teleport so he can come and be useful. Mid lane doesn't go down. They will eventually get that top lane turret if things go to plan for Sin. And it does feel like they're shifting a lot of their attentions towards that, because if Gangplank is behind, then Zed is ahead in that 1v1, and eventually they will meet each other.
Rymeister picked himself up that Ghost Blade now. Well, Omni only sitting on the Seeker's arm guard, so the more that Rymeister can boost himself further in front of this Gangplank, the easier time that Sin are gonna have and get themselves a dragon. Pretty sure it was the Mountain Drake, so these towers quiver in fear.
Yeah, it's going to be potentially quite useful for Tainted Minds if they ever look towards turret sieging or the neutral objectives being that Baron buff. As Rogue getting a lot of free farm thanks to Malzahar. And they do count, 10 gold per pop.
Not bad, that's for sure, but once again, looks like Sin got their sights set on Praetor in the top. All 5 members kind of hanging around this Rift Herald, but Tainted Minds are there. No one on the bottom side of the map. This could be a brawl.
Yeah, so they've got the Ash Arrow, and that's basically the cue to go. Rymeister has no health already. They need to disengage, Sin.
Arrow goes wide. Raps trying to get the land, gets hit up by the Nether Grasp. Rogue force a flash, gets sunned up by the Winter's Bite. There is a Glacial Fissure. Lost picks himself up that one.
Tainted Minds turn it back on. Squiggle had his ultimate that entire time, so you're left kind of scratching your head, just wondering why. As now the Rift Herald is going to be started up by the opposition team and ultimately just should not be done. Let Harold be.
Shen using his ult down in the mid. Deathmark is enough. Lost goes down. Squiggle gets himself an assist. Didn't really do much, but deterrence, I guess.
Well, it's enough of a shield and a mental factor
Yeah,
that they
yeah.
don't want to commit too hard to it. Of course, Omni has no ultimate, has no exhaust, and does go... Oh, sorry, watches Lost go down, who honestly had both of his summoners still available.
I guess the Deathmark just
He knew he was dead.
estimating the damage.
We'll note that Ignite diffuses most of the heal.
True.
Especially at the level advantage that he has. So we do get to watch this one again. Lost having both summoners. I'm going to say could have healed there.
We'll never know.
I'm getting the vibes that, you know, a heal could have been used there.
Well, once again, Rymeister finding himself a little advantage, getting further and further ahead in this game. Gold lead still quite even. Gold still quite even across the board for both teams. 3 kills apiece, a tower apiece. Tainted Minds do have that Mountain Dragon advantage here, so they can make it make use of it and get this mid lane tower.
Yeah, we actually have, so they've got their level 6 power spikes. Tainted Minds are able to group up and throw arrows down the middle lane, threaten objectives. Correlate that though, level 11 for Zed. He has kill threat. He's a real danger for Praetor to contend with. And Squiggle's able to be everywhere. He can work from top lane, he can come into the middle lane. Unfortunately for him, he just did that. Does not have his ultimate to help the Zed. So the 1v1 is on hold for the moment.
Lost is going to go top to get that big wave that will be crashing there soon.
This is where he goes onto Praetor, but there's no
Might be in
Shen.
trouble. Does have the tower available. There's the ulti coming through. Can he get anything down? Taking out the towers. Misses the shurikens. Forced to back off out of this one. There is Zahi. Does still have the shadow available now. Rosie in trouble. Gets delivered to his team. Blown up. Squiggle gets himself that one.
Yeah, Juves once again hits the keg, and that was actually the perfect keg. Doesn't just knock him backwards, knocks him sideways to the rest of his team who are coming in. That's one pick. The second they saw Lost go to that side lane, they go. Now Juves is the one running away. Is the Ash Arrow?
It does land. Zahi flashes in front to prevent the body slam. Now he's just going to get taken down. Not in range for the lantern, unfortunately.
And what was Juves doing? Mate, what was he achieving over there? There's like nothing. There's not even a red buff to take. Zahi has that.
Either too overconfident after hitting the perfect ulti, maybe. But now Squiggle's made his way down to bot. Praetor might be in trouble, but look at Rise Hellfire. It's quite low. There comes the taunt. Should be a free kill. One more auto attack should do it. Flashes through. 2 flashes, actually. Get the kill onto Praetor.
They ensure he dies, and that's the important part. Of course,
yeah.
Squiggle very close to having his ultimate available again. I think it's ticked down to being up now.
They're on a ward.
They want the turret above all else. And the fact that they hold the mid turret throughout this is a good sign, because once again, that Ash Arrow was on cooldown after they killed Juves with it. He may have been out of position, but he was definitely the sacrificial lamb to what is eventually Sin starting to get their way further into this game.
Well, Sin extend their lead by about 1,000 gold here, so now we're seeing them get little steps here in terms of getting ahead. Rai should have enough to complete that Black Cleaver off that back. Already got the Phage components. There it is, straight up Black Cleaver. Going to be feeling good now. Has a lot of armor penetration.
And speaking of Black Cleaver, we've got a different build this time around from Raps, going for the Essence Reaver cooldown reduction direction, which is good. He'll have much more cullings available to him. It means that he'll have the crit in his build as well, so potentially more damage output. It's a sign that he needs to just hang back and throw his culling out more often.
Well, we're seeing culling be an invaluable tool right now and holding this mid lane outer. That Tainted Minds constantly grouping in the mid to try and crack, just really not finding any leeway here as Sin. They're all over the map and they're playing it well.
Yeah, so this is how the game's going to continue to play out, and you're just waiting for someone to actually break. There's been good moves and bad moves from both teams. There it is.
Just flashes in Raps with no hope of getting away, but maybe he does. No, he can't. Just the CC laid on top and on top. Squiggle tried to ult himself in to save, but that's what happens when a Malzahar's in the game.
Yep, and there's no teleport available from Squiggle, so if the ultimate doesn't follow through, Squiggle can't join, and Rymeister can't split push because he needs to group. They can look to make a move themselves this time if you have a look at the ultimates missing from the side of Tainted Minds, being the big Ash Arrow and the big Malzahar ultimate. but they'll be up soon enough. They can just hang out with all their cooldown reduction they've got. Rinse and repeat the strategy.
He has no flash available, so it's going to be about 5 minutes or so before he can really do that once again. Let's see what Sin can do with that kind of time frame here. Either gold lead back up, even across the board.
They're going 3 people bottom for that second turret for what looks like a Rift Herald as a trade. This is interesting. So Tainted Minds are making the move aggressively for the money, but they may not get there in time. Raps has already spotted one of them.
It looks like they gave the Rift Herald over to Rhymemeister to ensure his split pushing. Well and truly in effect. Raps is down bot. Has a culling available, but Rosie, if he's on point, should be able to block a majority of that. Now 4 members from Tainted Minds are in this bot, and they defend it. It comes in onto Rosie, but there's Omni round to the side. All the ultimates being used. Nethergrass once again, Raps being caught. Feels like Deja Vu flashes out, not going to be enough. Olympic Visions picks him up. Rejuve can't get over the wall, but here comes Rhymemeister, exhausted immediately. Does get the kill, gets taken down though, and Tainted Minds full steam ahead with no signs of stopping.
Swiggle's definitely gone as well.
Yeah, look, he's just going to get stunned up. The CC being layered down perfectly. Gets hit by the barrel despite skating across the ground on the land.
And there's the communication issues from Sin. They go for the Rift Herald. They come one at a time towards defending that bottom lane turret. Rhymemeister goes in as Juves tries to go out. And these miscommunications are ultimately the downfall of Sin as the gold now stretches back towards Tainted Minds. In control of the 3-way tie, and it feels like they're starting to push us in that direction in this game number 2.
But we're really seeing how valuable the Malzahar is in these pick team compositions. Just walks up, hits the ulti onto Raps, and he's just forced to sit there and take it. And once that's done, there's a cocoon, there's a concussive blows, and he gets Shen ultied, he gets healed, he gets the lantern coming through, and still ends up dying. So Sin, they're going to have to change up their game plan here, maybe. Instead of defending, the best offense could be the right defense right now.
Let's be honest, like, Malzahar, we could be nice about it and say that in the current meta, he's a pretty good champion. You don't exactly even have to have skill to be able to play Malzahar. You can actually just press your R key and somebody will most likely die. That's the state that Malzahar is right now on this patch being 6.14. Busted is the nicest way to put him.
Yeah, he used to have to at least have a little bit of time to chuck down the W on the floor to ensure that the damage comes out, but the game just kind of does that for you now. So.
And even like the incredible thing about this is think of the drafting phase, and this is actually why I'm even highlighting this as an issue. They banned out 2 assassins away from Rhymemeister, where the Malzahar probably would have sufficed in that respect anyway. And then they pick the Zed into the Malzahar, which means they're going to have a bad time. But the predictable lock-in of the Lucian, taking that away from Lost, is what comes back as a killable champion, where they immediately have to go to Mikael's Crucible, and that's the breaking point that we're looking towards. Once Sin have that, maybe they can look towards a 5v5. They're not exactly close to it.
Yeah, Rogue, you've only got the Chalice of Harmony, so to speak, in terms of components, so still a ways away, and Raps showing no sign of QSS just yet. Shadow doesn't go over the wall, so Rhymemeister couldn't follow that up even if he wanted to.
And not only that, there's no Aegis to be seen from Sin unless Juves goes towards it, and I'd like to think that he does. It would make sense that he does, given that the Mikael's needs to be rushed, but his items are a little bit this and that.
QSS being picked up by Rhymemeister though, so does have the ability to be a little bit self-sufficient when it comes to avoiding that CC, even if he gets hit by it now, but Omni's picked up that Zhonya's Hourglass as well as some Morella Nomicon. Who comes through, wouldn't even matter if it landed on Omni.
No, they just want to have that shield down. It's a real pest when it is up. Means that he's susceptible to death, especially given the Morello Zhonya's build. Magic damage can take him apart. Something that's sorely missing from the side of Sin. The 1-3-1 is there. The Tainted Minds are able to brute force their way in.
They're grouping up strong here. Lost going to start working his way on the tower. Hook comes through, not going to matter. Zahi's here as well. We see Praedyth up top. Has to respect the threat that Rhymemeister is presenting right now. Swiggle down to the bot. Pushing that one up, all things are good. Doesn't have the teleport, but Sand United available. Praedyth also missing out on a TP of his own.
I guess one of the interesting interactions as well is that a Thresh hook, if it hits Malzahar, the spell shield blocks the damage, but the hook stays connected.
Yeah, you can still go in, try to go for the flay play and chuck down the box, but see if that comes into effect. Good to know that's always available to them.
So Raps also goes for the QSS now. So that's 2 QSSs available, and the Mikael's on the way for the side of Sin. They're building themselves to get out of the Ash Arrows and to get out of the Malzahar ultimates and survive and run away perhaps in that 3-man. whilst the side lanes put in work. The problem with this is the amount of money they're investing towards staying alive opposed to killing their opponents, and it means they have to actually play the fights perfectly. Otherwise, that damage that they're missing will come back to hurt them because it's all damage on the opposition team.
Two of your carries taking a massive detour in terms of item path is not a good story already. Tainted Minds getting themselves another 1,000 in the lead in terms of gold. 2 dragons this time. The Ocean was the second one that they picked up, and now that they're going to be getting this top lane out of tower with no one from Sin even in range to defend that one, Riot is going to come in and clean up the minions.
Yeah, the scary thing about Riot at the moment is that he can 1v2 Lost and Zahi if they were there.
Might be in trouble. Hook comes through. Do they have enough to kill him? Gets hit by the box, puts up the wall. Going to be blocking a lot of damage. Knocked into the wall at that. Omni now in the front lines. Can he do anything? Remember, without that shield, he's quite vulnerable. Flash comes through, gets the hook, but he is lost. Going to be doing a lot of damage onto Rogue. One more attack should do it. There is Squiggle over to the sides. Got his sight set onto Omni. Praedyth is here now, and this is an absolute massacre for Sin.
They just tried to fight without Rymeister available. It looked like. I think he actually was there at the start, used his ultimate, and then got out safely. The Baron's now being kicked off by them. Sin's last defiance. Looks like it's going to come down to what Rymeister can do without his ulti, but he can push them away because they're just squishy.
Goes in, gets a good chunk of damage down onto Praedyth, but you mentioned that they have to respect the damage that Rymeister can put down right now without having to overextend himself. But Sin put a lot of resources into killing that Braum, and it's not really what you want to do.
And more into the Malzahar to the point where they were in a choke point. Very unusual fight. I'm still not even sure how Raps died, but I think it happened within 0.5 of a second. He actually just got obliterated.
Look, Lost just had the fully stacked Q and the Runaan's Hurricane, and from then, when no one's attacking him, it's pretty much over. Squiggle tried his darndest to get in, only picked up Omni in the wake of things, but after using all of his cooldowns, he was kind of just left thinking, uh-oh, I've got a concussive blow stack on me, perma-slow from Ashe, Gangplank setting up a barrel chain from bloody here to top lane. I'm done for.
He was done for. This point in the game, man. We're at 25 minutes. There is a gold lead for Tainted Minds that's quite substantial in the way of winning this game, especially with the aforementioned point where they have the QSS itemization, so it's more in resistances than it is damage. They're still playing the conditions of the Baron and the Drake, though. Tainted Minds have a big focal point around these neutral objectives. All Sin need to do is play the map and try and pull them around and exploit them. It's a slow, patient game of League of Legends, but Sin are capable of doing it. It's their specialization.
They are grouping up in the mid lane to try and get down this mid lane outer, but once again, Tainted Minds are there to answer the call. They haven't started the Dragon just yet. But coming through, not going to land onto anyone. Zahi and Rosie, nice work sidestepping that. Rymeister popping the Ghost Blade, instigating the Initiate. Flashes over, trying to go in for Lost, just deletes him. He's so going to blow up from that one. No, there it is, Shutdown Gold onto Lost. Omni, who's he going to go for? The shield has been popped of his own. Zahi very low, flash in from Juves, gets the shutdown. Now Omni, with no hope of survival, pops the Zonias, but he's going to get popped on his own. A double kill for Juves. Now Rosie and Praedyth, where can they go? Squiggle with the taunt onto Praedyth, is able to eat an orange out of that one. Does have the Guardian Angel available, but now Sin got their sight set on this mid tower.
Yeah, there's a reason he's deep, and that's because he has got that Guardian Angel, and you can see Sin, once they hit item breakpoints, feel like they can fight. That's Rymeister and Squiggle coming together and being this unkillable group, even through the QSS being depleted early and a Malzahar getting a full channel of the ulti off. Doesn't spell the best possible outcome, as this is aggressive from Sin. Once again, Praedyth is up. He's got them where he wants them, inside the pit, and they have no health bars.
Well, they're really going to have to get themselves out of this one. Rogue, maybe the sacrificial lamb here, but here comes Squiggle into the fight through the lantern, but Sin have to retreat. You mentioned just how low the health bars were. Now Tainted Minds is up.
What are you
There's
doing?
the ulti. He's sitting on a trinket ward. Taken down. And that should be Q for Tainted Minds to do the Baron.
I'm not Juves, but I'm tilted. He just recalled on top of a ward that spotted him.
Not only that, he has vision of the ward.
Yeah. Look, that's the Baron. Disaster.
Sin, they get a nice team fight victory. Try to translate that into further advantages. Baron took them too long to kill. A bit too greedy here, but they went for the greedy play nonetheless. Juves with the ultimate greedy play, recalling an award, hit by the arrow, gets taken out. Now Tainted Minds in full control of the map once again. Baron buff, 5 members top. Towers do not stand a chance.
It's like that guy winning a black race and goes to put his arms up and celebrate, and then he falls off the black like 5 meters in front of the line.
Then everyone just comes blitzing past him, and there's nothing he can do about it but just watch, get up, tries to pick up the bike and run after them.
Yeah, don't be that guy.
No. Well, we'll see if Rymeister can do anything to kind of deter the push from Tainted Minds. And it seems like they had potential to keep pushing that top lane. They had so many minions, all with Baron buff, but choose against it for now. Don't want to do the same mistakes that Sin did.
Eyes are on Ashe again, though. Of course, Rymeister is level 16. He can 1v1 the Gangplank. The problem point for Sin is going to be the strength of their composition that they are up against. They get an Ashe Arrow, they get a Braum Q, they have an Elise Cocoon and a Malzahar ultimate. Someone does get locked down, which means they can't contest these neutral objectives too willingly. However, the gold's close enough. If they execute, they might get a fight.
And we saw that in the fight before the Baron, that Sin, they have the potential to win these, and the gold lead, it's not that crazy in favor of Tainted Minds. They just have map control right now. They've got the Baron, they've got the vision. So if Sin can kind of brought back some of that map control, we know that Rymeister has a lot of damage. We know if he gets it onto the right target, exhaust or not, Lost is going to die. It's all up to Omni to kind of find the right target to lock down, but when he shields down, he's just as vulnerable as Lost.
Yeah, that's the thing though, right? Tainted Minds always want to put extra attention towards neutral objectives, but none of them are available now that Dragon is gone. They can fight for red buffs, for blue buffs, but ultimately they're a team with Baron buff that should be sieging down structures. Granted, they just did. They immediately back away and give Sin the opportunity to push it out. And things go basically back to neutral. Only a slight extra amount of gold gained. And Praetor's pretty far out.
He might be in trouble here. There's the Ghostblade being popped, but a great ulti kind of blocking off the path here. Sin would have had to take a lot of damage and be slowed quite a bit.
Real deep here, Sin.
What are they going to go for here? Omni. Shield gets popped. Here comes the ultimate. Should just be able to zone use that one away. Pops the ulti in return, but there's no one to help him out here. Poor Omni flashes out, but there is the taunt come through right. He's quite low. Praetor looking for something, not going to find it. Squiggle doing a great job of being that front line.
Praetor
finds the ulti now. Praetor gets delivered into Sin. They're looking for the fight. They've got their sight set onto Zahi. He's so low. Repels up in the air. Nowhere to go. Look at Lost. He's got the items, but there is Rogue. Hits the godlike hook. He's still alive though. He gets the kill. Looking for more Squiggle. Can he do anything? Flashes in. Does get the kill. Does have the Guardians available. Gets taken down. Can Zahi, can Rosie do anything? Standing on the lantern. Is it going to be enough trying to get him off? Poor Squiggle. He can't click his way out. Goes back in. Finds Zahi. Zahi flashes out Rogue. Misses the hook, but now Rosie left out to dry, and Sin, with a miraculous team fight, find the pick and find the fight.
They put too much effort in just to trying to kill Squiggle there. He's a tank, so don't bother standing on the lantern. Let him get to safety and cut your losses. Praetor caught out of position once again. Juves hits the big barrel, but Rymeister's kicking this all off. Praetor had to waste the ultimate to stay alive, had to try and come in to help his team. But at that point, and when he got there, there was no more Omni. Juves has overstayed his welcome again, though.
Seems to
show respect.
Seems to be a kind of a returning theme in this series so far. Juves at the enemy red buff getting caught out. This time is able to get to safety. Didn't have to expend any summoners. So he has to be feeling good after that one. But Sin finding a way back in this game, maybe.
Yeah, so they have the Mikhails on Rogue, and it means they can look towards these exploitations of the Malzahar. Lots of damage to come out of Rymeister. Squiggle, level 16 to keep him alive, and again, the tools are there. But Omni just needs to be with his team, and that will never happen. Next time you run with them, communicate with your team, and things will work out better for you. Lost was that close to just clutching the whole team of Sin to death. Really unfortunate for him. The arrow hits.
Onto Juves, probably the least likely member. They're going to kill him, but it doesn't matter because they layer the CC on, and wouldn't have even mattered if the Lantern was still available. Now Tainted Minds, 5 strong in the mid lane. Omni has a shield back available. No CC going to be coming down on this guy, but a lot of ultimates expended. They still have the GP ult, and
got him.
Sin defend this. Not going to matter though. Raps and Rogue taken quite low. They're just going to brute force their way in off a pick, get the inhibitor, and get out of there.
Yeah, so they very easily get to take an inhibitor. Once again, Sin trying to run a 1-3-1. They don't have the cooldowns on the Mikhails. There's no way for Juice to get out alive because he's gone for the Spirit Visage build, opposed to going for a Banshee's Veil to dodge the Ash Arrows. Just like that, Tainted Minds blow the map completely open through that middle lane, set themselves up for any kind of side lane work. As he's looking.
Really looking for something.
No,
He
wrong
flashes
target.
in, but he's accidentally hit the support. It's Rosie. Still not going to matter though, as Lost pops straight after that. They want this fight. Can they do anything more? Omni just destroys poor Lucian. He got popped by the barrel. Now Omni in trouble. Nice minions blocking the hook. Now Squiggle and Rogue actually on the wrong side of the map. Praetor flashes through. Look at the damage just from 1Q onto Rogue. Juves playing bodyguard here. Uses the barrel defensively.
Rymeister's health to the... Maybe not too blue buff there, man. That'd be fine. Rymeister gets to live. Of course, they may hit the wrong target, but Lost goes down anyway. There's a lot of damage that's still available from just raw spells used by the Zed. Of course, has a Duskblade of his own right now. Sinner's still getting these close fights. They're still making picks. They're still doing their part towards winning the game. But then they just follow it up. They don't know when to stop. They don't know when to back away and reset. Because they're getting far too hyphy past these wins. Squiggle didn't exactly need to chase that deep afterwards. And Praetor's hitting these kegs.
Yeah, he just completely destroyed Raps the second that the Nethergrass was down. One keg hit him for about 70% here. So Tainted Minds can still brawl. Even when caught off guard, they still have that advantage, about 4,000 gold at the moment. But Sin, like you said, they don't know when to quit, but could be to their detriment, but it seems to be the only thing keeping them in this game right now.
Well, at the moment, it's the Baron and the Elder Dragon spawning at around the exact same time. Both of these teams have to look towards. Both QSSs are up. They've got the Mikhail's Crucible there for the Thresh. They have the Guardian's Angel about to be available for Squiggle on that Shen. Once they've got all of this, Sin could still look for a fight, but it is Tainted Minds in control. They have absolute control of the area now. Sin's response is the important part, because Tainted Minds can take that Baron if allowed.
There's no TP on Praedyth. Squiggle has his ult and TP available, so Praedyth up in top just has to stay around that more valuable objective, but Tainted Minds kind of getting corralled here by Sin's pressure on that mid lane.
Yeah, so they push down mid lane because they don't need to walk through the jungle. That would be unsafe. By doing this, they force Tainted Minds to respond into the middle lane, and then they can start to try and control vision of their own. But instead, Praedyth has overextended, does not have his teleport.
Might not need it though, as Rymeister very low. Praedyth gets a 1v1, but gets cleaned up afterwards now. 3 versus 4 up at that Baron. Squiggle, he's not far enough in to start really being a threat. Baron, it's going low. Can they do anything to stop it? No, the CC gets layered down well. Rogue gets hit by the arrow from Lost. Gets delivered straight into Rogue. Isn't enough though. Lost, he's still doing damage. He's still getting the auto attacks. Stuns coming left, right, instead of Rogue. Hey, Lost, he's still alive. He's looking for the triple, looking for the quadra. A couple more attacks should do it. Squiggle, he's going to come back to life, but only to die once again.
Yeah, so Squiggle goes down, and that's the ace now for Tainted Minds. They've got the Baron buff that they started, and off the back of Praedyth being completely out of position, yet getting the 1v1 onto Rymeister, who didn't wait for his team, had to go in early and make the plays. He ends up going down. This should be at least a second inhibitor to follow. Those death timers just aren't long enough yet. I don't think they can outright finish.
Rymeister is going to be up, followed by Rogue and then Rap. So one of the things we've credited Tainted Minds for is they know when to quit. They know when to push and when to back out, and we're going to be seeing just that.
Now they've got their reservations, and so they do back away. Tainted Minds fantastically far ahead now, making really good clutch decisions in situations where they're having to be reactive, not proactive. Sinner forcing them around now, starting to pull them from side to side, but Lost is definitely on form today. Mechanically, definitely there.
Oh yeah, you saw that. He was just hitting every single appropriate target once he had that fully stacked Q. It was just splitting up between Raps and Rogue, and it was a beautiful thing to watch.
Yeah, so Squiggle now has to defend the top side of the map. There's 2 lanes of super minions starting to push in, except that mid lane is about to have an inhibitor up right now, because that last wave was a cannon. This is the Elder Dragon being started, though. Juve's out of position.
Squiggle using his ulti to get here in time. It is onto Squiggle. Rosie might be the focus here. Down to about 3,000 health is the Drake. Rosie in the fight. There's the ulti, but it is onto Juice. Raps and Rogue still alive. Rymeister coming from the back. Rogue is his target. Lost gets taken down. A nice kill onto the jungler of Sin. Squiggle, he's in the fight, trying to steal this one away. Ash goes down. Malzahar goes down.
Got the
Squiggle
fight.
still alive onto Zahi here. But look, Praetor, he's still alive and he still has the damage.
This is so clutch.
This is so risky for Sin. Squiggle does get the taunt onto Zahi. One more attack should do it. Down goes the jungler. Look at Rogue.
Just kill
the
them.
hook onto Praetor. Instantly orange out. Gets deleted. Now Praetor is down. An ace for Sin.
But they don't. Can they actually even consider doing this? Rymeister's damage should be enough, but the health bar won't be. They're playing with fire here, Sin. Everything on the line, and that last fight came down to the smallest of details to separate them. They get the Elder. That doesn't mean they get more than it.
There was so much going on. That was such a hard thing to keep track of. Fights breaking out at the bottom side. We saw Rymeister come into the flank onto Lost, and Rosie's up in the front, taking out
needs to
Juves.
leave.
Well, we said this is a detriment to Sin. It's kind of the...
He's just going to ult the Ashe if he comes by himself.
Takes out the tower. Gets himself to safety, so Rymeister playing very well. And Sin not losing any structures up in the top despite 3 super minions barreling down.
Yeah, so they get back right on time. There was a really close fight to be seen between a lot of individual members in that Elder Dragon fight. The most important part is that Rymeister lived, and the GA got popped as he was on no health.
Yeah.
If there was one more attack in, Rymeister was dead, because he was able to set up 3 shadows next to the Guardian Angel return from Lost. Just immediately popped him. Takes him out. Not only that, Squiggle was able to keep Zahi down and actually take him out with the Elder Dragon helping him. And that was essentially the difference between winning and losing that fight, was about 400 health.
Like literally micro victories won at each single fight, all adding up in Sin's favor. If Sin had lost one of those 3 fights going on, they would have lost the entire thing, Ace and potentially the Nexus, but it all goes in their favor. They buy themselves some more time. They have that Elder Dragon buff that's going to put the brakes on for Tainted Minds. Let's see how Sin can stabilize and recover here.
Yeah, basically the epic monsters have been traded, except that Tainted Minds get aced, which means it's just Sin in control. You would expect of the map whilst that buff lasts. Doesn't last long enough, unfortunately, for Sin to make an impact with it. And we're at 40 minutes into this game. We're back to square one.
Yeah, back on even footing here. The gold at such that it's starting to matter less and less as everyone is completing their big items. Looking over at Rai, his full build here, and Omni still has one more slot for the item, but that's what happens when you're a lot of CS ahead, 130 or so.
Now, Rymeister going for this blue buff is a good move because it takes the blue away, right? That makes sense. But he's also putting himself into a position on the map where you'd expect Tainted Minds to be rotating and looking for him. It also means that as a non-teleporting member of the team, if Tainted Minds had originally committed to pushing down mid where the inhibitor is theirs to take, they could have actually got that.
Zed's going to be spotted in the top, so expect the Enchanted Crystal Arrow to make its way down. Praetor, 5 members of Tainted Minds are in this mid lane. Zed is still top. There's the arrow. It's onto Rogue. The ulti from Shen comes through. Instant flash from the Thresh, keeping himself alive. Right, he's not here yet, but Sin unengaged without their Zed.
And that's fine because nobody dies now. They're looking for it.
Oh, look at the damage onto Zahi. Rogue hits the hook right. He's quite low. The Limbic Vision ticking away. Squiggle and Juice in the backline. A 2 versus 5.
This isn't good for Sin.
A great Gangplank ulti completely splits the fight in half, and Sin lose 2 of their key members.
Yeah, that's actually really clutch. So the Gangplank ulti separates them. Praetor is coming up really big in this game. That's going to be the inhibitor, but they also have 45 seconds to deal with 2 of their tanks dead, and nothing in the way of tanking is left to keep them in this. Rymeister has his ulti, Rogue has his ulti, but I don't think they can actually stop this. There's too many minions now.
Look, Nether Grasp is nearly back off cooldown. All it needs to do is land, but the hook comes in on the Praetor, oranges it away. Rogue's doing a great job blocking the damage. Rai takes a chunk. The minions are barreling down on in. Can Rymeister and Co do anything? Raps trying to kill the minions. He goes in, instantly vision down, and now there goes Raps. Rogue, the last Salt member left to fight. Flash Cocoon comes in, Lost picks that one, and what an epic game number 2. Tainted Minds keep their dreams alive, take out Sin.
Sin did make them work for it. It was not an easy game for them to win by any means, but the result is still there. They force us to a third game. Tainted Minds, they're putting it all on the line. They get that victory.
Look, an excellent showing out of Tainted Minds and lost especially on that Ash. But we're going to chuck it back to the desk to let us know what they think of this epic series so far.
Thank you, Rogi and Rusty. My name is Michael Hingersing, and I'm joined here at the analyst desk by Raz and Frosco, who has, let's say, collapsed. This was Tainted Minds went in with a very strong comp, right? And then they took the game. So what's going on? Why are you... Isn't this what you expected, seeing that comp?
What's wrong for us?
Oh my god. Okay, let's first and foremost cover Tainted Minds composition because
Sure.
it was, you've got Ash, you have Malzahar. We talked at length about Malzahar the other day about why he's so strong. But effectively, the fact that this game was still so close with that
40
composition.
minutes, yeah.
42 minutes with a Malzahar, Ash, Elise Gangplank composition. Pretty ridiculous. Effectively, you've got Tainted Minds, they're like driving a Ferrari. Like, that's how strong that composition is.
Sure.
But the problem is...
It's a reasonable car.
Reasonable. Handles well, looks slick, super fast, but you got like just fresh got your license. You're a little bit uneasy behind the
you're like
wheel.
some kid who's got rich parents, they've bought him a Ferrari, and then he or she just doesn't know what they're doing, right? Okay.
Exactly. On the
there
other
we go.
side, it's the tried and true Sin comp. You know, you got the Assassin, you got the Shin.
Sure.
It's working for you, but it's like a VW Beetle in comparison. But it's just like driven by the stick.
Right.
And that's the only reason why that
Why are
was
you-
so close for
Why are
so
you throwing
long.
shade at the VW Beetle for? That's a perfectly respectable car.
You know, you hit a curb, you're crippled for life. That's all I'm going to say in that
I
car.
know nothing about cars. This is how perfect this is. 'Cause I have like...
It's okay. I have a specialty in motor mechanics,
Ah, there we go.
vehicles, fixing dishwashers, things like that.
Okay.
Lumberjack.
Well, let's talk about let's talk about the game then, Raz. What did you see in there? Did this play out how you expected it to?
Oh my god, when you get the Z pick in there, like I could not believe it because of course like the Malzahar went through, the Gangplank, that's a beautiful composition.
You
the
saw
Elise.
Sin's attempted Baron that kind of illustrated their composition, right?
I mean, the composition really
That
didn't-
was just a
wa-
lapse of
like that was
judgment.
just like we can go straight into it because that's a big point too. Because like okay, so Sin have complete control here. Tainted Minds have 2 people right now contesting. But with that being said, it's Gangplank. He can poke you down. So with 4 people and like a Thresh, what are they doing? They cannot burn this Baron down. It has 4k HP. And they have Squiggle there. Turn and fight. That legitimately just comes down to decision making. And of course, right, like cherry on the cake, that's just a kill on Jubes. That should, at the very least, that's 2 kills that you can get for Sin because you should not be zeroing in on the Baron. Like I talk about Baron quite a bit, but like just look at the Baron HP. Think like, oh, can we burn it down, right? It's like, oh, should we go for this? Or there are 2 people just sitting there and we have a Thresh and a.
Frosco, you're openly laughing at this. What are
It's
your
because
thoughts?
he was the coach for Dignitas.
Yeah, yeah.
So I can just like the Baron, it just twists that knife right in there. No, but that play lost Sin the game. If they had gotten the Baron there, the fact that they had just swung a major team fight, if Raz is correct, if they had turned, taken out those 2 people,
Fought, taken Baron.
or even, I mean, you probably wouldn't be able to move directly back into the Baron getting
could.
those 2 picks, but you would at least stalled out long enough. But the fact
Maybe
that
you can keep making the play. Sorry to cut you off.
No,
right?
I
but
agree.
It's like you can pretty much, you're constantly going back to Baron, taking the picks. Maybe they're like, oh, we can't give them Baron. Let's send 2 more people at them. And it's just like, honestly, it's a circular logic. You keep killing them. But you should always look for the fight or at least identify what you want to do at that point.
All right, well, there is lots to talk about, so we'll be back with Game 3 right after this.